We have seen wildfire activity as a consequence of this heat wave, as a consequence of all of these lightning strikes. We currently have active addressed some 6,754 fires since the beginning of this year. You contrast that, and you can see in this slide where we were this time last year. Rather than over 6,700 fires that we've had to battle this year, we are now battling, or rather by contrast, we battled just over 4,000 fires last year. So this fire season has been very within the state and in terms of our mutual aid system across the western United States. And I'll talk more about that in a moment, and obviously draw down federal support as well. Here's where we are. Currently, we are battling some 367 known fires that are burning statewide. And I say known fires because when you see this amount of lightning strikes, and by the way, it was June of 2008 where we had roughly half the number of lightning strikes. June 2008 is a memorable date here in the state of California, particularly here at the State Operations Center, and the work CAL FIRE had to do to address those lightning strikes. Roughly half, 5,146 lightning strikes marked on that date, compared to over 10,000 over the last few days here in the state. As those lightning strikes spark, as you have a lot of smoke, difficult time determining total number of fires until certain things clear and we have the opportunity to go to more remote parts of the state. So I say 367 known fires based on the lightning activity, but the prospect of that number going up is very real. But the number that is most impactful, at least at the moment, are the 23 major fires and what we describe as complexes of fires. And that's an area that has multiple fires, not concentrated together, but concentrated and spaced apart, but within a geographic geographic area that is proximate. And so 23 major fires that we are currently addressing aggressively through all our efforts, both the local, regional, and state and federal level. Let's talk about some that we have highlighted over the course of the last number of days. The Apple Fire in around Riverside County. You've seen the Lake and Ranch fires in around LA County. You can see the containment of some of those fires, good progress, so much so in the Apple Fire that we've been able to pull resources from Southern California, from the Apple Fire into Northern California, where we've experienced the majority of these lightning strikes and new fires. You can see containment, the Lake Fire, beginning to move in a direction that gives us confidence that we've got our arms around the conditions. You see a number of other fires with containment. When you get into that 30, 35, 40% range and you don't have major conditions changing as it relates to wind conditions, humidity, and the like, it gives you some confidence in the capacity of our frontline heroes to really take control of those conditions and mitigate the spread and the damage of those fires. They're still active. They are major fires, but we're seeing some real containment. We're seeing real progress. Here are the number of fires where we're not yet seeing containment. Brand new fires. You see these lightning complex fires, the CZU, which is in around San Mateo, Santa Cruz area. That's a complex of fires, 22 fires within that complex, working aggressively to contain those fires. The LNU lightning complex, similarly, a number of different fires, this in around Lake County, Napa County, a little bit around Sonoma County. These fires break out, the Gamble Fire, Hennessy Fire, et cetera, et cetera. Again, working aggressively to contain the environment in and around those fires. Carmel Fire and the Jones Fire, which has gotten a lot of attention in around Grass Grass Valley, Nevada City. That more of a grass brush fire at the moment. There's been evacuations related to that. The 5% containment looks modest, but there's a sense of optimism as it relates to that fire. Again, that optimism can dissipate pretty quickly as the wind conditions change, humidity, and other conditions change. But nonetheless, those are the larger fires that we are addressing in real time. Again, 23 all up and down the state of California that we mark as quote-unquote major fires, hundreds of fires throughout the state of California because of this extraordinary weather that we're experiencing and all of these lightning strikes. So look, this is what the state does. We are quite familiar with these challenges, and everybody watching is quite familiar with the challenges of wildfires here in the state of California as well. But there's no question, while last year we experienced some acuity of fires, a Kincaid fire, some others down Getty Fire, and some others in Southern California, the total number of fires last year was substantially lower than the activity we're experiencing this year. And what has occurred over the last 72 hours is certainly stretched the resources of this state. That said, we are in a better state of preparedness. I've had multiple press conferences like this over the course of the last few months, talking about some of our efforts on vegetation management, forest management. A few days ago, we announced a new partnership with the U.S. Forest Service to match California's commitment to address some of our vegetation and forest management by matching the total number of acreage that we are currently addressing each and every year. New partnerships forming with the U.S. Forest Service. In addition to the partnership we formed with the California legislature this year that provided us an additional, despite this historic challenge with budget shortfalls, we were able to increase our budget for CAL FIRE by $85.6 million to get and bring on permanent, full-time firefighting force. In addition to that, recognizing that we started to see some activity after the budget was signed that was potentially, was leading to some indication we might be where we are here today. We supplemented with an additional $72.4 million the availability of seasonal firefighters. At the time we announced 858 seasonal firefighters we wanted to bring in to the total number of available CAL FIRE personnel. 830 of those 858 have already been brought on. This just over the course of the last few weeks. That supplemental commitment was timely, and we certainly are now a beneficiary of some of those new firefighting resources. By the way, in addition to the CAL FIRE personnel we brought on, we also tried to supplement some of our hand crews and some of the work at the California Conservation Corps, and those Corps members were part of that $72.4 million. So they have come on board, and they're out there on the front lines helping support our National Guards men and women, supporting our local frontline personnel, as well as some of our federal personnel. We have requested what we refer to as an EMAC, and this is our emergency assistance program with states all across the western United States. We've now requested 375 EMAC, meaning engines, to come from other states. I had the pleasure, and I want to thank publicly Governor Ducey of Arizona for his support, and they've sent equipment here to the state of California. Governor Sisolak in Nevada has sent equipment here into the state of California. A pending request that has been green-lighted by Governor Abbott. I want to thank him as well publicly. In Texas, they will be sending some crews and some support. The stretch these requests is not lost on anyone who's following this space. When you have a West Coast heat wave. We have fire activity all across the western United States, putting pressure on those assets within the states, and that includes up in the north or the Pacific North coast and areas of Oregon and Washington State as well. So complicating this picture, challenging time, but one where, again, we're very familiar, one we're more than capable of stepping up and doing everything we can to meet the moment. World-class firefighting force, world-class equipment that we have made substantial investment over the course of the last 4 or 5 years to upgrade. I've spent many occasions with you out there highlighting some of the new firefighting suppression technology that we have, the new infrared camera systems, our capacity satellite technology, our aerial reconnaissance efforts that have been supplemented and supported with National Guard, among others. The partnerships, again, we have been forming locally and federally, as well as some of these procurements that have been highlighted as it relates to no longer Vietnam War era suppression with alt Huey helicopters, but now finally bringing on some of these new Black Hawk helicopters will allow faster time to suppression and allow more personnel as well as more safety and more firefighting suppression capacity. And ultimately, when the training is fully advanced, will allow us some nighttime suppression as well. So putting everything we have on these fires. They're stretched all across the state of California, and we're now getting the support of some of our partners in the western United States. And for that, again, we are very grateful. This extraordinary weather event has also put pressure on our energy supply. And that's been self-evident with our flex alerts that we put out since Friday night. We experienced some de-energization on Friday and Saturday, but none on Sunday, none on Monday, and none on Tuesday. That is good news. We took action, aggressive action, Sunday, Monday, as it relates to emergency orders and efforts with executive orders to put into place, into practice, a number of aggressive strategies to shift our energy consumption here in the state of California, as well as temporarily utilize backup sources of power, peaker plants, and the like. We've worked with our partners, LADWP. We've worked with the state water partners to get more hydroelectricity into our portfolio. San Francisco, Hetchy, now providing more hydro resources today than they even were yesterday. I want to thank our providers, not only our investor-owned utilities, but the providers out there that have done everything in their power to flex that power, particularly during the critical hours of 2 to 9 o'clock. I've said 3 to 10 in the last few days, and that's been accurate. Today, we are advancing to flex your power from 2 p.m. this afternoon to 9 p.m. Today, we believe, will be another challenging day, but we're up to the task. You're up to the task. You've proven that on Sunday night. You proved that on Monday. You proved that on Tuesday, last night. But we are looking at upwards of 47,000 plus megawatts of power, full load today that may be utilized because of these high temperatures. Tomorrow, we believe that will drop down to about 45,000, and on Friday to about 43,000. So tonight, we believe in the immediate is the last night. We really need everybody to do everything in their power to flex their power use, power consumption. I'm going to show you a slide in a moment of what that entails individually. But again, I want to acknowledge the work that's been done by some of the largest energy providers and producers and consumers in this state, not only the state of California and its operations being pumping water, not just being the beneficiary of electricity procured from hydroelectric dams, but also the work that was done by Tesla, some of their efforts by Chevron and by Marathon that really dedicated to our efforts. The Navy, I want to thank them for all their good work with their ships that are in port that generate a lot of use of electricity, or rather consume a lot of electricity, that really met this moment and helped support the efforts Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So a lot of partners, a lot of participation, a lot of good work that's been done by users and by the utilities, by each and every one of you that got us through these last few days in ways that were rather remarkable, considering what many had anticipated. And so we want to thank all of you, those major consumers, for the reduction in usage. And again, I want to remind everybody that we have an investigation underway. We have a spirit of collaboration with the California Energy Commission, the PUC, and the ISO, the California Independent System Operator. They today will be providing a response to my request of those three agencies in terms of their shared responsibility to forecast the need for megawatt usage, to look at exactly how and what's necessary to procure and produce that, as well as some of the application of the same to the Public Utilities Commission. And so we're going to get some more clarification in that space, but a deeper investigation as it relates to the implications for the future, so this will never happen again. And we are working aggressively to see to it that's the case. I'll remind people, I mentioned this yesterday, some public comments, that in a typical summer day, we are using about 38,000 megawatts. Again, today with our FlexiPower, we're looking at upwards of 47,000 to be exact. We're projecting about 47,208 megawatts of energy being utilized here today. So over 47,000, typically would see about 38,000 megawatts on any summer day. And so we clearly have a lot of work to do. I want to remind everybody of the importance of cooling your home, offices overnight, doing what you can to set your air conditioning to 78 degrees or higher, again, particularly between the hours of 2 and 9, as it relates to what we project is the most important time period today. And again, try to do your best to avoid using your dishwasher, your dryer, your washing machine, major appliances during the hours of 9 and 10 to the extent possible. And we recognize not everyone can accommodate that, but to the extent you can, it would certainly accommodate our efforts to get through what we think is the last challenging night as it relates to this energy use.